my dear friends, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to discuss about Tennyson's poem Ulysses. Before starting summary of Ulysses, I'm going to tell you some points about Arthur Lord Tennyson. Actually, I gave an introduction in my previous video, Lotus Eaters. Some points I skipped in that particular video, so I decided to mention that points in this video. So Tennyson is known as harbinger of Victorian poetry. Then much of his poems, including Lotus Eaters and Ulysses, we can see so much of classical mythological allusions. This proves that he is interested in classical mythology. Then Tennyson became poet laureate of Great Britain in 1850. I already done a video about poet laureates. Do watch that. It will helpful for you. Now about Ulysses. Ulysses was published in 1842, and there is a twin poem to Ulysses, that is Lotus Eaters. Then Ulysses is about the great leader of Trojan War. Ulysses is influenced by Homer's Odyssey and Dante's Inferno, because in these two works Homer and Dante describes about Ulysses and his heroic deeds. But this particular poem, that is Ulysses, written by Tennyson, is mostly based upon Inferno, written by Dante. So now about the summary of Ulysses. In Lotus Eaters, sailors, they proclaimed that we will no longer roam, because they are so much intoxicated with that lotus fruit, and they decided to not to roam anymore. But in Ulysses declares that he cannot rest from travel. He decided to give his kingdom to his son Telemachus and decides to roam till his death. This poem is a dramatic monologue. The entire poem is spoken by a single character, Ulysses. He describes about his ambitions, then about some philosophy of life, then he declares that he will give his kingdom to his son Telemachus, like that. All these things are included in Ulysses. This poem starts with the lines, "It little profit than an ideal king." He tells that he can no longer remain in his home, or he cannot rest from travel. He wants to travel a lot and to experience the sea, and he wants to wander and roam the earth. And he declares the famous line that I am a part of all that I have met. After that, he declares, it is boring to stay in one place, and to remain stationary is to rest rather than to shine. To stay in one place is to pretend that all there is to life is the simple act of breathing. Whereas he knows that in fact life contains much novelty, and he longs to encounter this. Then he tells that he wants to follow knowledge like a sinking star. After that, he addresses to an unidentified unidentified audience, maybe they are the people of Ithaca, and tells that he decided to give his kingdom to his son Telemachus by telling, this is my son, my own Telemachus, to whom I leave the scepter and the isle. So he decides to give his scepter and isle to his son Telemachus. Then he tells that he works his work, I mine. He here means Telemachus. Telemachus works his work. That means he will rule the kingdom, and I mine, which means I travel a lot. That is the final decision of Ulysses. After that, in the final stanza, he addresses mariners. So in later in previous stanza, he addresses people of Ithaca and declares that his son will work his work, and Ulysses will roam and explore knowledge or explore the world. And in the final stanza, Ulysses says that, and he addresses to the mariners and says that he decided to travel and he decided to acquire more knowledge. Then in the last line, he tells that to strive, to seek, to find, and not to yield. Epicurean philosophy is mentioned through these lines. To strive, to seek, to find, not to yield. All these lines are very important. Please remember those lines. They are repeated questions in many competitive examinations. Hope you understand the storyline of Ulysses. So, let's discuss about objective type questions related to this poem. First question is, who is the author of Ulysses? As I said to you earlier, Ulysses is written by Victorian poet Alfred Lord Tennyson. Now, second question. Ulysses is a poem written in. It is a poem written in blank verse. Third question. Who is the speaker of this poem? Yes, title character Ulysses is the speaker of this particular poem. Kingdom of Ulysses is. Name of Kingdom of Ulysses is Ithaca. Fifth question. Which two works influenced Tennyson to write this poem? Yes, it is Homer's Odyssey and Dante's Inferno. Lotus Eaters, Tennyson's another poem or Ulysses' twin poem or companion poem, is also influenced, or its storyline also taken from Homer's Odyssey. Here, Dante's Inferno, that particular poem is influenced most in for writing this particular poem, Ulysses. Now, sixth question. The poem is written in. The poem is written the year 1833. Seventh question. It is published in 1842. Though he wrote this poem in 1833, this poem is published in 1842. Opening lines of the poem is. This poem's opening line is. The answer is, eat little profits than an idle king. By this still hearth among these barren cracks, matched with an aged wife I met and doll, unequal laws unto a savage race that hoard and sleep and feed and know not me. So the first line is, eat idle profits than an idle king. Please remember that. Eighth question. The poem is published in which collection? It is published in the collection called Poems. It is actually Tennyson's second collection. 10th question. Who is the son of Ulysses? Answer is Telemachus. 11th question. Old age hath, yet his honor and toil is taken from which line? Which poem? Old age hath, yet his honor and toil. This line is taken from Ulysses. 12th question. Who is Penelope? Penelope is Ulysses' wife. So that's all about Ulysses. Hope you understand general facts about Ulysses. So thank you so much.